Hey YouTubians, it's Tony here from We Try Anything, channel likes try anything so you don't have to. In today's video, we're going to look at another watch from the Casio range, with this one being the very shiny Casio A-163W Digital Watch, which has a module number of 593. As is customary with the watch reviews that we undertake on the We Try Anything channel, we'll be looking around the Casio A-163, highlighting some of the materials used, the design of the watch, and mentioning some of the sizes along the way. We will then go through some of the functions that this watch has to offer, pop it on our wrist and say what it's like to wear. There will be links to the instructions of this watch in the description box below, and an affiliate link if you wish to find out more about this watch. And there will also be a tutorial for this watch coming very soon. So the first thing to say, and yes, you have guessed it, this is yet another eBay purchase. Now, as I always mention in my other videos, the reason for buying it on eBay is to simply show how this watch wears over time, and this is no exception with the amount of wear that this watch has seen, especially on the case. The other reason why I bought it on eBay was that it was a little bit cheaper than normal really, with this one coming in at £9 including delivery, which isn't to be sniffed at, but as you can see why it's quite cheap, because obviously the case is all marked up and everything. But if I held out for another couple of days, typically for about the same price, there was one that was in much better condition. So it is a bit of a lottery sometimes, but if you just hold out for the one that is right for you, you can sometimes find a real good deal. Now, before I start digging into the sizes, etc. about this watch, I want to say that this watch, to me anyhow, I believe is a posher version of the F-91W. And the reason for that is simple. It shares the same module as the F-91W, which, as you can see, 593. And it's got the same case back as well, the same case back design. And there is just the overall general makeup of this watch just makes me think that this one on the left, the A163W, is a bit more of a posher version than the F-91W. But saying that, let's take a closer look at the A163W that we have featured here. Now, the first thing I'm going to mention about this watch is that it is my first ever metallic braceleted watch to feature on the channel and to buy for my collection. Now, I don't normally have metal braceleted watches, for the main reason being I've got quite hairy arms, as you probably noticed on various videos, and I always find that the links or the parts of the where the lugs are and stuff like that, when I put the watch on, it tends to nip at my the hairs on my arm. Hence why I've never really bought one. But I thought, with it being, obviously we're a We Try Anything channel where we do try most things, I thought I'd give a metal strapped watch a go. And I'll tell you how I've got on with it later on in the video. So with that aside, let's talk about the size of this watch. Now, the width of the case is 33mm from there to there. If you want to add the pushers on, you are looking at an extra 3mm overall, so it's now 36mm. Lug to lug, or what's known as top to bottom, you are looking at 47mm. Depth wise, you are looking at 9mm, which is the same as the F-91W. Moving on to the materials, this case is a resin case, and it has what is a chrome effect paint on there. To me, I don't mind that for obviously the price that this watch would have been at, but it would have been great for this watch to have a metal case. Now, I have picked up, I know it's a ladies Casio, but it was quite cheap at the time, and this does have a metal case to it. And as you can see, I mean, this watch, I think, if I'm right, is about 40 to 47 years old, and you can see how that case has worn over time. And obviously it'll probably do with a good polish just to get it back up to what will be close to brand new. But you can see with a metal case how these watches wear, and I do kind of wish, I'll just move that off to the side, that this watch had the same metal case. Now, I know there is other Casios that are slightly further up the range where they do have a metal case, but it would have been really nice to see a version of this watch with it. But just bear that in mind. I mean, obviously it is a what is a painted case, hence why you do get the scratches and you do get the marks, and obviously the paint being removed from the case. So if you do pick up one that is in a better condition, it will obviously wear over time, depending on where you wear it and how you wear it on any given day really. In terms of the inner lug width, you are looking at what would be 18mm. So if you want to change the strap for like another Casio strap or a Casio resin strap, then this flares out to 22mm here, and you got 15mm down here. And if you do go for something like a black silicone strap or something like that, it does contrast really well with this shiny metallic effect case. Talking of the strap, it's a very nice stainless steel strap, and I feel it adds to the overall look of the watch. I mean, it is quite flexible, doesn't show much wear considering the wear in the case, and is easy to adjust for most wrists. The only thing that I want to add is that I found it a little bit trial and error to get to the correct or to adjust it from the thickness of my wrist, which is about 6.5 inches. But once it's done, you just obviously just put it on from there on in, and it does fit really well. Now turning to the back, you do have the usual Casio stainless steel back to it, where you've got the 4 screws on each corner, and that will allow you to ease of access for the module and the changing of the battery. And again, as I've mentioned, it does follow the F-91W in terms of the way it looks, so hence why it compounds my thoughts in saying that it's a bit more of an upmarket version of it. Now this watch does feature quartz movement, which is, I believe, plus and minus around 30 seconds a month. Battery life, you are probably looking up to 7 years depending on usage. And also on the back, as you can see, it mentions that it is water resistant. Now water resistant is more splash resistant, so if you got caught out in the rain, in theory you should be okay, but definite no for washing cars and swimming and stuff like that. To be honest, I'd probably keep it away from water, because obviously once that water gets in the module, then you've had it really. So just I would, rule of thumb, just keep it away from water. Now moving on to the front of the watch, as you can see, the dial window is what is a slightly raised flat acrylic resin crystal. Now as you can see, it is prone to scratches like most resin crystal dial windows are, and I have managed to get quite a bit of the scratches off what would be the dial window, but unfortunately, I mean, it's going to take a lot more elbow grease and a lot more polywash just to get these scratches off. But just be aware, I mean, I just kept them on there just so you can see in this example, just to see how they do wear over time. Overall, I find the watch face very pleasing to the eye, and I do feel it does contrast really well with the case, and I like the way that the actual dial window does just somehow just slightly cut into the overall case design. So it is, in my opinion, a very good looking watch. Now on the digital display, as you can see, which is again like the F-91W that I am slightly comparing it to, it has got a fair amount of information on there, where you've got the day of the week, dates within the month, AM or PM or 12 or 24 hour that this watch does feature, and obviously you got the hours, minutes and seconds, and it is very easy to read from a distance and just very easy to understand from a quick glance, which is always good with these sort of watches. And also to add to that, mentioning the calendar, it does also feature what would be an automatic calendar, in the way of it will take into account what will be leap years and obviously how the date changes after February the 28th. The other thing to mention about the Casio A-163 is about its backlight. Now it's not the best, I've got to say, and it is like the Casio F-91W. It's got the same module as such, so it's got, to me, it's got the same kind of lighting setup, and it's not the best. It only seems to illuminate what would be the left hand part of this digital display. Talking of the features of this watch also does feature what would be an alarm, so you've got a daily alarm with hourly signal, and also this watch does feature what would be a stopwatch. Now the stopwatch measures in 100th of a second, and it has a measuring capacity that will go up to what would be 60 minutes, or essentially 59 minutes 59 seconds 99 hundredth of a second. And also it features, while it's counting the elapsed time, it will feature a lap time, and it does also feature what is known as first and second times, which I will talk about more in the tutorial video coming soon. And obviously you do have what would be amending the time via the timekeeping mode here. And just to quickly show you, that's the 24-hour part of it, and then go back to 12 hours. So it does have a fair few features for what would be quite a simplistic watch. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pop this watch on my wrist and say what it's like to wear. Here it is on the wrist, and I've got to say this watch has surprised me a little. As I've mentioned earlier, I do tend to steer away from what would be metal braceleted watches, mainly because of my Neanderthal caveman-like arms, which has got quite hairy. The other watches I have tried in the past do tend to nip at the hairs on my arms, but this one, no, not at all. I've got to say it has been quite a, not a revelation, but it has been quite surprising, and it's also been really comfortable to wear. I mean, there is a little bit of weight from the strap, but from the case, not much at all, obviously, with it being what would be a paint effect resin covered case. And I do think it looks really good, and it has that vintage smart look about it that would suit a lot of formal and casual outfits. And due to its size, there's no inhibition of hand movement, as it isn't really a heavy watch, and you do tend to forget that you're wearing it. Now overall I do like this watch. I know I say that a lot about Casios, but with this watch I already made my mind up coming into this review that this wasn't the watch for me. But I've never been so wrong about a watch in the time I've been reviewing them. It's very stylish, comfortable to wear, has more than enough functionality for it to be a bit more practical than just telling the time. And above all, this watch is very, very affordable. I do wish that the case was composed of metal as opposed to a painted resin plastic, but you can't have it all. And I have to say that as a watch bought brand new or in good condition, then this would be a great, stylish, retro watch to wear for more exclusive outings, and not as a daily beta watch, as I would leave it to its much other lower costing brother, the Casio F-91W. So yeah, overall great watch to wear, really smart. And if you do get the chance to, get it quite cheap on eBay or even get it brand new on the likes of Amazon, then I would go ahead and pick one up. It's a great smart watch to wear.